Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about the biggest elf in the room that we got coming out of the newest chapter, which is now that we've seen Boruto has mastered the flying Raijin, the jutsu made famous by Boruto's grandfather, we have to ask ourselves this very important question. How did Boruto master the flying Raijin during the 3-year time skip between the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations and Boruto 2 Blue Vortex? This question has been one that just about every fan I've interacted with has raised this question, and my DMs have been flooded with people asking if there's an explanation as to how he learned the jutsu. I've even had fellow content creators reach out to me privately and ask me if there was something that we might have overlooked regarding Boruto and the flying Raijin. So in today's video, I wanted to weigh in on what I believe might be the answer as to how Boruto learned the flying Raijin jutsu. So let's start off with the most obvious thing getting out of the way, which is ironically still one of the most misunderstood things about the flying Raijin jutsu. Minato and Tobirama were not the only people who knew this jutsu. Yes, they are the most famous people who have used the jutsu because Tobirama created it, and Minato turned himself into the legend known as the Yellow Flash, who took down 1,000 shinobi in only a matter of seconds whenever he used this jutsu. However, they aren't the only ones. There are other shinobi who know the flying Raijin, but the list of shinobi is extremely small due to the large amount of chakra required to perform just the basic teleportation of the flying Raijin itself. And contrary to what some people still think in 2023, one of those shinobi who knows the jutsu is not Naruto Uzumaki, which I defer you to my Why Naruto Never Learned Flying Raijin video if you're still unsure or confused as to why I'm saying that. So as for how Boruto learned the flying Raijin, I think we have to rule out obviously Minato and Tobirama weren't brought back as Edo Tensei to teach Boruto the jutsu, and it's very likely that Genma, one of the Hokage guards of Minato who knows the jutsu, didn't teach it to Boruto because Genma and the other guards, they have no incentive to do so, since due to the omnipotence being casted, their minds have it with Boruto being the outsider who killed Naruto and Kawaki being the beloved son of Konoha, so they wouldn't teach it to Boruto. That would be one of the highest forms of disrespect if they taught it to Boruto, given it would look like the guards of Minato namikaze taught this jutsu to the kid who killed Minato's son. That's super disrespectful. That leaves us with only a few possibilities because no known user of the jutsu could have actually taught it to him. So we'll run down the few possibilities that remain. The first possibility for how he learned the jutsu is the least sexiest of them all, which is that Boruto was already in the process of learning the jutsu off screen during the events of Boruto Naruto Next Generation. Boruto was already stated multiple times to be a shinobi who possessed the genetics of Minato in terms of being a generational genius, with someone like Kakashi saying multiple times in the Boruto anime, especially when he saw Boruto mess around and make the wind release Rasengan as quickly as he did, and then when he saw Boruto make the compression Rasengan a few weeks later, Kakashi was blown away as well. The idea of Boruto taking time to learn the jutsu that belonged to his grandfather doesn't seem crazy, and it does explain why in Boruto Naruto Next Generations chapter 80 he was written as saying that he was the grandson of the 4th Hokage. Up until that point in the story, he's never identified himself as being Minato's grandson when he's referred to himself. The closest that we got was when he told Hinata Naruto was lucky that his father was dead growing up because being the child of a Hokage was a really big burden in Boruto's eye. That very likely might have been the reason why Boruto's written as name-dropping Minato, because thematically it wasn't needed. He stated that he had the blood of the Hyuga and he was the son of Naruto, the 7th Hokage. He already checked off the box that he came from the bloodline of a Hokage there. With Minato, that line, it could have just been him doubling down on it, but given Boruto's now using Minato's signature jutsu, it makes more sense now that he dropped Minato's name there in the closing pages of Boruto Naruto Next Generation. I do think if this ends up being the case, that he was learning it off screen before the time skip, we need someone to mention in passing so we get closure on that end. However, I want to bring up the next point here. So one of the people who reached out to me in private that I know for certain I can say and they won't get mad after the chapter drop was my guy Harrison from over at ABD. And while we were racking our brains looking for stuff that might have been overlooked, he raised a really good point in my opinion, which is that if you really wanted to stretch the lore, you could argue that Sasuke might have broken down the jutsu and copied it using his Sharingan during the 4th Ninja War, which theoretically it could have been done with the Sharingan Eye of Insight. While the jutsu itself does rely on seals, it is still a jutsu that can have the mechanics broken down via the Sharingan itself, and since it isn't a Kekkei Genkai, it can be copied. It just wouldn't be something impractical at that point for someone like Sasuke to use in Boruto, Naruto Next Generations for a few different reasons. One, the jutsu requires a ton of chakra to use, and when he had the Rinnegan, his Amenateji car allowed him to swap places with stuff at the same speed as the flying Raijin teleportation, and he was able to open up portals to travel to Otsuki dimensions if he wanted to, and as long as he had the coordinates, he could just go anywhere he wanted to around the ninja world, like we see him doing whenever he goes back to Konoha. So the jutsu wasn't needed when Sasuke had the Rinnegan, which is something he had for 80% of Boruto Naruto Next Generation. I do think, should this be revealed, that Sasuke taught it to Boruto during whatever downtime they had before Sasuke began his current cosplay of Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, this could be an acceptable answer from the fandom, and it would be pretty cool of an Easter egg to know that Sasuke is the reason that Boruto learned both of the signature jutsu of his grandfather and not Naruto. That would be a really interesting payoff in my opinion, because again, Sasuke is the reason Boruto learned the Rasengan, and Sasuke might be the reason why Boruto learned the Flying Raijin, and it makes you view the student-teacher relationship of Boruto and Sasuke in a way different light now. This one again is a big stretch that Harrison and a couple of other creators said I'm going to keep their name withheld because I'm not sure if they're okay with me saying that we talk privately. They all agree with me that having Sasuke teach Boruto this jutsu, while it's believable, it might open up a bigger can of worms that you don't really want to open up. It would be on par, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion here, it would be on par with open up that can of worms that happened when we learned that Orochimaru left Konoha was retcon from he left right after Minato became Hokage to learning in the war arc that he left a handful of years after Minato died. Most people, they won't get upset over it, but the ones who pay very close attention to the small details of the story will see how it creates some inconsistencies in the story that really stand out. I kind of feel like this Sasuke explanation, that might do the same thing. Now, for the final method of Boruto learning the Flying Raijin that has been brought up is the most simple one, which is that Kashin Koji taught it to him. If we go back to Boruto Naruto Next Generation, in particular the anime version of the story, around episode 212 or 213, we see the Kashin Koji in the episode where he fought against Kakashi, was inside of Konoha looking for data, likely data related to Jiraiya, but we were never told what that data specifically was, only that he had been looking through that data on older shinobi. The idea that Kashin Koji found recorded data on Minato, Jiraiya Sensei, the student of Jiraiya, and the Flying Raijin, it could be something that could work if you tie it back into an anime episode, which Boruto's manga has connected dots to stuff that happens in the anime before, like famously the Hidden Miss field trip arc being canonized to the manga story, so you could go that route, because if the info that Kashin Koji was looking for wasn't something that he got when he was forced to retreat, but this is something that he did maintain data on, then that actually makes sense as to how Boruto got it. Thematically, it also works because this would be Kashin Koji, a clone of Jiraiya, basically the son of Jiraiya for all intents and purposes, since he is genetically Jiraiya's son, taking the time to train the grandson of Minato, the Flying Raijin Jutsu, if he got his hands on one of those scrolls. Jiraiya was called out by Tsunade in Naruto's manga for his tendency to try and teach Naruto overpowered jutsu, because Jiraiya had a soft spot for Naruto because he was Minato's son, and also Jiraiya was Naruto's godfather. So having Kashin Koji, someone who took an interest in Boruto early on in the series, be the one who teaches Boruto a jutsu belonging to Minato, that makes the whole Koji and Boruto and Jiraiya and Naruto parallel hit that much harder from a writing perspective, which I gotta give a big shout out to my guy Eternal Hokage. He might have quit YouTube a few years ago, but my guy was adamant that Kashin Koji would train Boruto. That being said, I am curious to see what you guys think about Boruto having learned the Flying Raijin. While you think that over, click here to watch this Naruto Explain video.